My wife left me with newborn twins. 3 years later, she showed up, reeking of whiskey. She demanded to see my girls, but I saw through her. Then my daughter found a note in her gift, and it hid a secret that could destroy us. I met Sarah in high school, in a small Ohio town called Millfield. She was the kind of girl who lit up a room with a laugh that made my heart skip. Her hazel eyes sparkled when she talked about her dreams, and I fell hard. We were 16, sneaking kisses behind the bleachers at football games, sharing milkshakes at the local diner. She made me feel alive, like I could do anything. I wanted to build a life for us, something solid, something real. After graduation, we moved to Columbus. I got a job at a tech startup, grinding long hours to prove myself. Sarah worked part-time at a coffee shop while taking art classes. We rented a tiny apartment downtown with creaky floors and a view of the Scioto River. Every night, we'd cook cheap pasta, laugh over spilled sauce, and plan our future. I studied harder, pushed for promotions, all to give her the life she deserved. Sarah was my muse, my reason to keep going. Her sketches covered our fridge, little bursts of color that felt like home. We'd walk hand in hand through Goodale Park, talking about marriage, maybe a house someday. She'd tease me about my terrible dance moves at prom, and I'd retaliate by tickling her until she begged for mercy. Those moments felt endless, like we'd always be that young, that in love. I proposed on a snowy Christmas Eve, down on one knee by the river, her breath visible in the cold air as she said yes. The ring wasn't much, but her smile was everything. Life wasn't perfect, money was tight, and we argued over dumb things like whose turn it was to do dishes. But we always made up, falling asleep tangled in each other's arms. I thought we were unbreakable. Sarah made me believe in forever, in a future where we'd grow old together. Little did I know, her dreams were shifting, pulling her somewhere I couldn't follow. But back then, in those early days, it was just us against the world, and I was the luckiest guy in Ohio. After a year in our Columbus apartment, Sarah dropped a bomb. One night, over takeout pizza in our cramped living room, she looked at me with those hazel eyes and said, "Jake, I want a baby." My slice froze halfway to my mouth. A baby? We were barely scraping by with my startup job and her art gigs. I loved her, but kids weren't on my radar. I mumbled something about thinking it over, my mind racing. She nodded, but her smile faded, like I'd let her down. Weeks passed, and she didn't mention it again. I hoped she'd moved on, but then I noticed hints. Baby catalogs appeared on our coffee table, dog-eared pages showing cribs and strollers. She'd point out kids at the park, cooing, "Look how cute!" My gut churned. I wasn't ready, but Sarah's quiet persistence wore me down. One evening, I found her sketching a nursery scene, her face glowing. I couldn't say no to that. I sat her down on our sagging couch. "Okay, Sarah, let's do it." Her eyes lit up, and she threw her arms around me, laughing. That night, we made love with a new urgency. No barriers, just us. It felt like high school again, reckless and alive. For weeks, we were unstoppable, stealing moments between work and sleep, chasing that dream. Each negative test dimmed her spark, but we kept trying. Then, one morning, I found her in the bathroom, staring at a stick with 2 pink lines. She turned to me, tears streaming, and whispered, "We did it." I pulled her close, my heart pounding with joy and fear. We celebrated with cheap wine and danced in our kitchen, the city lights glinting through the window. I started dreaming of a little girl with Sarah's eyes or a boy with my stubborn streak. We planned everything. I budgeted for baby gear, scouring stores in Columbus for deals. Sarah picked out paint swatches for a nursery in our spare room. We argued over names, Lily for her, maybe Ethan for me. I worked overtime, determined to provide. Sarah glowed, her sketches now filled with tiny shoes and teddy bears. I thought we were solid, building something new together. But sometimes I'd catch her staring out the window, her face unreadable. I brushed it off as nerves. After all, we were young, in love, and about to be parents. What could go wrong? I had no idea how fast that question would come back to haunt me. Sarah's pregnancy started like a dream, but cracks appeared fast. At first, she was all in planning the nursery, humming lullabies. We'd lie in bed, her hand on her growing belly, imagining our kid running around our Columbus apartment. But by the 3rd month, something shifted. She stopped talking about baby names. The paint swatches gathered dust on the counter. When I suggested shopping for cribs at a store in Short North, she shrugged, saying, "You pick." Her voice was flat, like she was reading a script. I chalked it up to hormones. I'd read every pregnancy book I could find, and they all said mood swings were normal. But this felt different. Sarah started spending hours on her phone, scrolling, not sketching. When I asked what was wrong, she'd snap, "Nothing, Jake, I'm fine." But she wasn't. She stopped touching me, pulling away if my hand brushed hers. Our bed felt like a battlefield, her body curled tight on the far edge. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering what I'd done wrong. One morning, I had to beg her to get in the car for an ultrasound at Riverside Methodist Hospital. She dragged her feet, sighing like it was a chore. This was the woman who'd begged for a baby, who'd left baby catalogs everywhere. Now, she barely looked at the appointment reminder on our fridge. My stomach knotted, but I pushed it down, focusing on the road. At the hospital, the sonographer's screen lit up, and my heart stopped. "Twins," she said, smiling. 2 tiny heartbeats flickered. I grabbed Sarah's hand, grinning like an idiot. "Twins, Sarah. Can you believe it?" I expected her to light up, but her face face froze. She sighed, asking, "Can you check again?" The sonographer frowned, but confirmed it. Twins. I was over the moon, picturing two little girls with Sarah's hazel eyes. Back home, I dove into planning. I crunched numbers, ensuring we could afford 2 cribs, 2 car seats. I swapped out the single stroller we'd bought for a double, asking Sarah what color she liked. "I don't care," she muttered, eyes glued to the TV. My chest tightened. Was this just hormones, or something deeper? I cooked her favorite meals, lasagna, garlic bread, hoping to spark that old warmth. Nothing. She'd eat in silence, then retreat to the couch. I tried foot massages, like the book suggested, but she'd flinch, saying she was tired. Our apartment, once filled with laughter, felt like a stranger's house. I caught her staring out the window one night, her reflection pale in the glass. "Sarah, talk to me," I pleaded. She turned, eyes cold. "I'm fine, Jake. Stop pushing." But she wasn't fine. The spark was gone, replaced by a distance I couldn't cross. I started doubting myself. Was I too focused on work? Not supportive enough? The book said to be patient, so I was. But deep down, a voice whispered that something was breaking, and I had no idea how to fix it. The day Sarah's water broke, chaos hit. I was washing dishes in our Columbus apartment when she screamed from the bedroom. My heart raced as I grabbed the hospital bag, hands shaking so hard I fumbled the zipper. The ambulance arrived fast, red lights flashing through our windows. Paramedics rushed in, calm but urgent, checking Sarah as she gripped my hand, her face twisted in pain. I caught a flicker in her eyes, not just pain, but something like dread. The ride to Riverside Methodist Hospital was a blur of sirens and my racing thoughts. Was she scared? Was I ready? I pushed it all down, focusing on her. In the delivery room, nurses hooked Sarah to monitors. She was at 8 centimeters, the doctor said, eyebrows raised. "These twins are coming fast." I stood by her side, whispering encouragement, but her responses were clipped, her eyes darting to a nurse with auburn hair named Claire. They exchanged glances I couldn't read. "Did you discuss your birth plan?" Claire asked Sarah, her tone oddly cautious. Sarah shook her head, wincing through a contraction. My stomach churned. What plan? Why hadn't she told me? Hours blurred into a storm of medical terms and Sarah's labored breaths. Then, our first daughter Lily arrived, her cry piercing the room. I laughed through tears as the doctor placed her on Sarah's chest. I waited for that glowing smile, but Sarah barely looked at her, eyes flicking to Claire. "Push again," the doctor urged. Soon, Rose arrived, smaller but just as loud. My heart swelled, but Sarah's face stayed blank. The nurses took the girls to clean them, and I followed, counting tiny fingers, my chest bursting with love. They were perfect. Back at Sarah's side, I showed her photos on my phone. "They're beautiful, Sarah." Her smile was forced, eyes avoiding mine. "I need rest," she muttered, turning away. My joy faltered. The next morning, I arrived early, after a sleepless night prepping the nursery for 2. Claire met me in the hall, her face tight. "Sarah asked for privacy," she said. "The girls are in the nursery." I spent hours holding Lily and Rose, memorizing their faces, Lily's tiny birthmark, Rose's fierce grip, but Sarah's absence gnawed at me. By afternoon, I entered her room. She sat up, staring out the window, eyes red. "They're perfect," I said, sitting beside her. She turned, voice breaking. "I can't do this, Jake. I never wanted twins. I never wanted this." My world tilted. She admitted she'd only agreed to kids to keep me, but twins were too much. Her bag was packed, hospital bracelet gone. "My sister's picking me up," she said, voice flat. "There's a letter at home." I begged, argued, but she was resolute. Her sister arrived, avoiding my eyes, and Sarah left without seeing our daughters. I stood frozen, the room echoing with her words. At home, her letter waited on the kitchen counter pages of her truth. She'd never wanted motherhood, felt trapped by the pregnancy, and believed the girls were better off with me. She asked me not to find her. I read it twice, tears falling, until Rose's cry snapped me back. I was alone with 2 newborns, betrayed by the woman I'd loved since high school. My heart shattered, but Lily and Rose needed me. I picked up Rose, her tiny hand gripping my finger, and vowed to be enough for them both. Those first weeks alone with Lily and Rose were a fog of exhaustion and love. Our Columbus apartment, once filled with Sarah's laughter, now echoed with the cries of 2 newborns. I was terrified, fumbling through diaper changes, my hands clumsy with inexperience. The nursery, painted soft yellow for the twins, felt like a lifeline. I'd rock Lily in one arm, Rose in the other, their tiny faces calming my racing heart. Sleep was a distant memory, snatched in 20-minute naps between feedings. I'd stare at them, wondering how I'd do this alone. My boss, Mike, was a godsend. He let me work from home, adjusting deadlines so I could focus on the girls. My parents drove up from Cincinnati, Mom teaching me how to swaddle, Dad stocking the fridge with casseroles. Friends from our old Millfield days showed up with formula and baby clothes. My neighbor, Tom, a single dad himself, became my late-night confidant, sharing tips over coffee when the girls finally slept. Their support stitched me together when I felt like falling apart. I built routines to survive. Mornings started with bottles, Lily's soft coos contrasting Rose's louder demands. I'd strap them into a double stroller for walks along the Scioto River, the fresh air grounding me. Work calls happened with a baby on my shoulder, my laptop balanced on the couch. Every milestone, Lily's first smile, Rose's grip on my finger felt like a victory. I snapped photos constantly, filling albums to prove they were loved, even if Sarah wasn't here. But her absence stung. I'd catch myself expecting her to walk through the door, sketchpad in hand. Instead, I found her letter again, tucked in a drawer, its words like a knife. She didn't want this life. I stopped hoping she'd change her mind. The girls deserved better than a ghost. I took them to playgroups at the local library, where other parents asked about their mom. I kept it simple. It's just us now. Their pitying looks burned, but I held my head high for Lily and Rose. Money was tight, but I stretched every dollar. I sold Sarah's old art supplies online, using the cash for diapers. My sister, Emily, sent care packages from Cleveland, hand-me-down onesies, toys, and notes of encouragement. I leaned on a single parents group I found online, their stories of resilience giving me strength. One night, after a long day, I sat on the floor with the girls, building a tower of blocks. Rose knocked it over, giggling, and Lily clapped. My heart swelled. They were my world now. By their first birthday, we'd found our rhythm. I threw a small party in our apartment, Tom and his son bringing cupcakes, my parents video calling from Cincinnati. Lily smeared frosting on her face. Rose tried to eat the candles. I laughed until tears came, a mix of joy and ache for what could have been. I started journaling for the girls, writing letters about their quirks, Lily's cautious stares, Rose's fearless grabs determined they'd know their story. Preschool brought new challenges. The girls noticed other kids had moms. "Where's our mommy?" Lily asked one day, her eyes wide. My throat tightened. I knelt down, explaining, "Some people aren't ready to be parents, but you're so loved." I showed them our family book, filled with photos of grandparents, Tom, Emily, and me. They'd point at pictures, giggling, and I'd hug them tight, vowing they'd never feel less than whole. I grew too. I learned to braid hair, thanks to YouTube tutorials, and mastered quick dinners. Mac and cheese was a hit. Work promoted me, easing financial stress. I saved for the girls' future, a college fund growing slowly. Dating crossed my mind, but my heart wasn't ready. Sarah's betrayal lingered, a scar I wasn't sure would fade. Instead, I poured everything into Lily and Rose, their laughter my anchor. Our little family wasn't what I'd planned, but it was ours, built on love and grit in a quiet corner of Columbus. 3 years after Sarah left, I'd built a life for Lily, Rose, and me in Columbus. Our apartment was a fortress of routine morning bottles, evening story time, and weekend walks by the Scioto River. The girls were thriving, their giggles filling the silence Sarah left behind. I thought I'd moved on. But one Saturday morning, a knock at the door shattered that illusion. I opened it, and there she was, Sarah, unrecognizable. Her once vibrant frame was gaunt, clothes hanging loosely, eyes bloodshot with dark circles. The smell of whiskey hit me, sharp and sour, at 9 a.m. "I need to see my daughters," she slurred, swaying slightly. My heart pounded, anger and disbelief crashing together. I stepped forward, blocking the doorway, keeping her from seeing Lily and Rose smearing peanut butter on toast in the kitchen. "You gave up that right 3 years ago," I said, voice low but firm. Her face twisted, a mix of desperation and rage. "I'm their mother, Jake," she hissed, trying to push past me. I held my ground, my body a shield for my girls. She stumbled back, tears spilling. "I lost my job, my place. Emily kicked me out," she sobbed, naming her sister in Cleveland. "I remembered you were always good with money." My blood ran cold. This wasn't about Lily or Rose, it was about her hitting rock bottom and looking for a lifeline. I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to yell. The girls' laughter echoed behind me, and I knew I had to protect their peace. "You're not in any state to see them," I said, steady despite the storm inside. "Get sober, call my lawyer." Sarah's sobs grew louder, but I saw manipulation in her eyes, not remorse. She'd planned this, maybe hoping I'd cave for old time's sake. I handed her a scrap of paper with my lawyer's number, my hand steady despite my shaking heart. "Don't come back like this," I warned, closing the door as she begged. I leaned against it, breathing hard, listening to her footsteps fade. In the kitchen, Lily looked up, peanut butter on her cheek. "Who was that, Daddy?" she asked. I forced a smile. "Just someone lost," I said, ruffling her hair. I spent the day distracting the girls with games, but my mind raced. Sarah's reappearance was a threat, a crack in the life I'd built. I called my lawyer that night, confirming the custody papers were ironclad. She'd signed away her rights. I installed new locks on the apartment, my hands steady, but my gut churning. Tom, my neighbor, offered to keep an eye out, his own single dad instincts kicking in. I didn't sleep that night, haunted by Sarah's hollow eyes and the fear she might try again. But as I checked on Lily and Rose, sleeping soundly in their yellow nursery, I swore I'd do whatever it took to keep them safe. Sarah was a ghost from the past, and I wouldn't let her haunt our future. After Sarah's drunken appearance, I doubled down on protecting Lily and Rose. That night, I sat in our Columbus apartment, the girls asleep in their nursery, and called my lawyer again. The custody papers were airtight. Sarah had no legal claim. Still, her desperate face haunted me. I upgraded our security, installing a camera at the door and a deadbolt that clicked with finality. My neighbor Tom checked in daily, his gruff voice a comfort. "She won't get near them, Jake," he promised. I nodded, but my chest stayed tight. I threw myself into routine. Mornings were pancakes and braids, Lily's hair neat, Rose's a wild tangle. I drove them to preschool school, their chatter about crayons and friends easing my nerves. Work was a balancing act, coding from home while answering why questions from two curious 3-year-olds. I saved every penny, building a safety net for emergencies. Sarah's return had shaken me, but I wouldn't let it break us. I stopped checking my phone for her calls, stopped glancing at the door. She was gone, and we were enough. Months later, a letter arrived from her lawyer. Sarah wanted to talk, claiming she was better. I trashed it without responding. My focus was Lily and Rose, their first soccer games, their wobbly attempts at tying shoes. I taught them to ride bikes in Goodale Park, cheering as they pedaled, my heart swelling with pride. Friends like Tom and my sister Emily became our family, filling our apartment with laughter during weekend barbecues. I started to heal, the scar of Sarah's betrayal fading, though never fully gone. I leaned on a therapist, Dr. Harris, who helped me process the anger. "You're doing right by them," she said, her calm voice grounding me. I learned to answer the girls' questions about their mom with honesty but care. "She wasn't ready to be a mom, but I'm here, and I love you both," I'd say, hugging them tight. They'd nod, then run off to play, their resilience a mirror for my own. By their 4th birthday, our life felt solid. We celebrated at the Columbus Zoo, Lily mesmerized by the penguins, Rose roaring at the lions. I snapped photos, filling their albums with memories. I'd started dating again, cautiously, a coffee here, a dinner there, but nothing stuck. My heart was with the girls, their bedtime stories, their sticky-fingered hugs. I didn't need more than that. Sarah's shadow lingered, but I refused to let it define us. I enrolled the girls in art classes, hoping they'd inherit her talent without her pain. Lily drew careful landscapes. Rose splashed bold colors. I hung their work on the fridge, a quiet nod to the past I'd made peace with. My lawyer reported Sarah had moved to Chicago. No contact since the letter. I felt relief, not regret. Our apartment was a home now, filled with toys, laughter, and love. Lily and Rose were my anchor, and I was theirs. We'd built something unbreakable, no matter what ghosts tried to knock. I looked at their sleeping faces each night, promising to keep it that way. Lily and Rose grew fast, their personalities blooming like spring in Columbus. Lily was my thinker, always observing, sketching detailed scenes of the Scioto River. Rose was a firecracker, her bold paintings splashed across our fridge, her laughter echoing through our apartment. I watched them navigate school, friends, and dreams, my heart swelling with pride. Our life wasn't perfect, but it was ours built on love, not the wreckage Sarah left behind. By their 10th birthday, we'd moved to a small house in Clintonville, with a backyard for their soccer games. I coached their team, shouting encouragement as Rose scored, and Lily strategized from defense. Questions about their mom came less often, but when they did, I kept it simple. "She wasn't ready, but you're loved beyond measure." I filled their world with family, my parents from Cincinnati, my sister Emily, and Tom, who'd become Uncle Tom. We had pancake Sundays, zoo trips, and late-night movies, our bond stronger than any absence. High school brought new challenges. Lily dove into science, winning awards at state fairs. Rose joined the school band, her trumpet solos stealing the show. I juggled work and their schedules, driving them to practices, cheering at games, and helping with homework. I dated a little Lisa, a kind teacher, came close, but my girls were my priority. Sarah's betrayal had scarred me, but Lily and Rose healed me daily with their hugs and love you dad notes. Then, just after their 16th birthday, Sarah reappeared. A letter came, postmarked Chicago, her handwriting shaky but sober. She'd been clean for 5 years, working as a barista, living quietly. She wanted to meet the girls, to explain. My stomach churned. I called my lawyer, confirming she had no rights, but Lily overheard, her sharp eyes catching my tension. "Is it Mom?" she asked. I nodded, throat tight, and showed them the letter. Rose read it silently, her face unreadable. "I want to see her," Lily said firmly. Rose nodded, hesitant but curious. I arranged a meeting at a neutral coffee shop downtown, my heart pounding as we walked in. Sarah looked older, healthier, but still a stranger. She smiled nervously, offering small gifts, a sketchbook for Lily, sheet music for Rose. The girls were polite but guarded, asking questions I hadn't dared. "Why did you leave? Did you ever love us?" Sarah's eyes welled up. "I wasn't ready. I was scared," she said, voice breaking. "But I've always loved you." I stayed silent, watching my girls process her words. They didn't cry, didn't hug her, but they listened. After, they decided to keep in touch, cautious but open. Sarah sent birthday cards, called occasionally. Lily analyzed every word. Rose shrugged it off, but they both grew stronger, their compassion humbling me. I kept my distance, meeting Sarah only once more to set boundaries. "They decide what you get," I told her, my voice firm. She nodded, tears falling, and I walked away, lighter than I'd felt in years. By their high school graduation, Lily earned a scholarship to Ohio State for biochemistry, Rose a spot in a prestigious music program in Boston. We celebrated with a backyard party, Tom grilling burgers, Emily bringing her famous brownies. Sarah attended, sitting quietly, her presence a footnote, not a headline. The girls hugged her, brief but kind, then ran to me, their smiles wide. "We made it, Dad," Rose whispered. I choked back tears, nodding. As they left for college, our house grew quiet. I walked their empty rooms, touching old drawings, feeling both loss and pride. They called often, Lily with lab stories, Rose with tales of late-night jam sessions. Sarah stayed in their their lives, a distant but steady figure, her sobriety holding. I found peace in their forgiveness, though mine came slower. I'd become more than a single dad. I was their rock, their home. Lily and Rose had surpassed every dream I'd had, their strength a testament to the love we'd built, unshaken by the past.